School District. We're reconvening open session at 19:02 hours. Calling it back to order. We're coming in from closed session. Be advised these meetings are televised. They're on Channel 28, the Great Tri-Valley TV, Wednesday and Saturday evenings, and on Monday, Friday, and Saturday mornings. I want to begin this evening with our flag salute. And I'd like to ask our two members, we're going to swear them in real quick here, Amanda and Catherine, if you'd lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please. It's on your account.
Okay. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I mentioned we're coming back in from closed session. Any actions that we take in closed session, we report out. We did take an action, and I will read that out now. The board took action in closed session to improve the statement of charges for immediate suspension or dismissal of a permanent certificated employee and to direct the superintendent or designee to serve notice to the employee and to take further action as necessary to implement the board's actions to suspend and dismiss the employee. And the board's vote on that was unanimous. Just some of our basic procedures. A couple things have changed, so as I go through this, there's a few modifications to our meeting procedures. This is, again, the regular meeting of the Board of Education for Livermore Valley Joint Unified School District, where the primary focus is on the education of the students within the jurisdiction of this agency. During this meeting, members of the public, all of you, will have the opportunity to share information, share your voices and ideas on concerns regarding the matters within the jurisdiction of this agency. During our discussion of each agenda item, there'll be a time for you to have the opportunity to speak to that item. If the topic you want to address is not on the agenda, we ask you to please fill out a TAN card, like one of these, prior to item number 8.1, if you're following on the agenda. It usually gets posted, and I think there's some out front. Audience communication, it's audience communication 8.1. You'll then be called to speak to that item under 8.1, communication from the public. If you wish to address an item that is on the agenda, we ask you to fill out a blue card, and like light blue ones, I think there's one right there, like this, and just put on there what the item is. In either case, there's 3 minutes to speak to that item when we call your name up. The thing that's a little bit new, to address some of the concerns that we've had with time management, in the event of a large number of speakers under audience communication for both agenda and non-agendized items, we modified it in the following way. If we have 1 to 10 speakers, we're going to stick with what we have, 3 minutes. If we get 11 to 20, we're going to bring it down to 2 minutes. And if there's 21 or more, we're going to bring it down to 1 minute on the speaking. And this is the way we're going to try to run it so we can get better time management. Just a reminder, our meetings are televised on Channel 28, Wednesday and Saturday evenings at 7 p.m. and on Monday mornings at 10 a.m., Friday and Saturday morning at 0900. Going through, we're going to go into Section 5. Before I'd ask Mr. Van Schack, our superintendent, if there's any changes to the agenda.
Mr. President, there are not.
All righty, we get right into our recognition.
Fantastic. We have an opportunity tonight to honor a very close and very dear partner of this school district for many, many years, and I would like to invite Ms. Michelle Dawson, our coordinator of community engagement, to provide a little background for us.
Good evening. Good evening, Board President Bueno, members of the board, Superintendent Van Schack, Cabinet and community. It is an absolute pleasure for me to be here tonight to recognize members of the Livermore Valley Education Foundation, LVF for short, for all they have done and continue to do in support of our students and the enrichment of their education. I'd like to invite LVF board members who are here tonight to step forward so we can properly appreciate and acknowledge their efforts. They are sitting in the front row, so they can also wave. So I want to start with some introductions. Mr. Dana Rowley, who is the president of LVF, is here tonight. Welcome, Dana. Greg Park, the treasurer. Welcome, Greg. And Jean O'Neill Opapari, who's the secretary, she is also here. Kevin Athey is here tonight, Lisa Belg, and Sally Esser. Some members of the board who couldn't be with us tonight include Elise Allen and David Darlington and Miranda Gressoff, and then some founding members, Bill and Sally Dunlap. So in my role as the coordinator of community engagement, I've had the pleasure of working closely with LVEF for the past 2 years, and we've developed, I think, what is a very proactive, thoughtful, and impactful relationship. Our collective goal is to match the needs of our students with the values of the foundation in order to fill the gaps in funding for the programs and materials that will enhance the educational experiences of our students. So tonight I want to share a brief background on LVEF for those who may not be familiar with the organization and all that they do, and highlight some of the really significant investments that have been made by this foundation over the past couple of years. So a little background, LVEF was founded in 1991 after some very lean public education funding times. And so this organization has been around for over 2 decades. What's unique about this group is that it's an all-volunteer organization. Some of our neighboring districts have foundations with paid staff, and LVEF is all volunteers. So I think that really speaks to, you know, their commitment and their dedication to our students and their love of public schools and our community. They are truly doing this work out of a love for those things. Some ideas on how they fundraise. Harlem Wizards basketball, if you've been to that a game in the spring every year, the Harlem Wizards come to visit. It's not only a great fundraiser for this group, but also just a really fun community event, bringing students and families together. They host, along with our music department, Make Time for Music concerts, 3 of them each year, including choir, orchestra, and band. Again, phenomenal ways that we are showcasing our music program and the talent that our students have. And then they have individual donors and grants that they also seek out. So I want to talk a little bit. We could be here all night, you know, if we talked about each individual way in which they contribute, but I really want to highlight some of the key ways in which they've given to our district over the past couple of years. And the most significant is for our music program. So over the past few years, investment of over $125,000 for new instruments, equipment, sheet music, instrument repairs, music, shirts for the rodeo parade for our middle school students. It's just been phenomenal. So over the course of time, you know, our music department is very good at trying to maximize all of the instruments that they have, but you know, I think it speaks to a growing department, growing interest in music. We had need for more, and they really stepped up and made a huge investment. And these instruments are in the hands of our students today. Middle school athletics, new uniforms, athletic equipment. It was brought to our attention that, you know, our middle schools were sharing uniforms, and it was taking a toll. So they have invested over $55,000 last year for new uniforms and athletic equipment. You can see some of those in the pictures above. Additionally, our So Wise, So Young program that allows second graders to experience the Shakespeare program. It's a treasured program for our school district, and they contribute over $20,000 annually to make this happen. Rotary, they have a wonderful relationship with our 2 Rotary clubs, and they collaborate together to maximize the amount of dollars and the amount of grants that they can honor to all of the teachers that submit for them. Over $25,000 annually for matching Rotary mini grants as well. Most recently, at the spring of last year, they made a huge investment in graphing calculators for our high schools. Over $18,000. Each high school received more than 100 graphing calculators. And I can tell you my daughter in stats class and at LHS is already commenting. I see some nods over here too on the fancy new calculators everyone's getting to enjoy. So that's fantastic. And the nice thing about it was this was approved last spring. The funding came in. They were able to order the calculators over the summer and have them in the hands of our students on day one. Just some other programs and things that they've supported not only over the past couple of years, but in the past as well. Science materials, they've always been strong supporters of our Science Odyssey program, our Math Counts program. As you can see from one of the photos there, the little girl in the center is wearing a shirt with the logo contest winner for the Science Odyssey, and those were provided courtesy of LVEF. They've purchased library books, invested in library books for our school libraries, technology during the pandemic when we needed to expand the Chromebooks that we had to offer students for a 1-to-1 ratio, and they have always supported us in our district events. The picture there to the left is of our Kinder Fair this last year. So they were there educating parents on kind of what they do and how they give back to our school district. So without further ado, I want to just say thank you again to the Livermore Valley Education Foundation for their continued commitment to our students. I look forward to continuing this partnership, and just thank you. We are a better district because of the support that you provide.
Anyone? Anything? Em? Did you say anything?
I know they already left the building.
They can hear.
They can hear me, I think. I just wanted to say a special thank you. As a parent of students in the Livermore School District, we have been recipients of many of the things that they do for our students. Just really appreciative of everything that LVEF does, for the hard work that they put into it, for the effort they put into it, and we definitely see the benefits of it in our students and at all of our schools. So we're really grateful for them and their efforts.
Thank you. Anyone? Stephen?
Yeah, as they were presenting, I was just ticking off the list of ways in which LVEF has directly benefited my family, and it's just an amazing resource. And I felt starstruck. It's like, this is them. These are the people that I've seen at all the concerts and everything. So just sincere thanks to them and all the hard work that they do.
Thank you. Trustee Wong?
Well, just echoing the appreciation, of course, my children also directly benefited from all of those programs that they fund, and really, really appreciate them.
Thank you. One of the big capital items that didn't get mentioned, it's been a few years, but we couldn't have done it without it, was we did a programmatic change at both high schools to give all the kids safety helmets, all levels. It was a big expenditure, and LVF led that charge to put a new helmet on every kid. It was about 300 kids that they put helmets on. It was to address concussions and things like that. And it's been overwhelmingly successful. So the things like math counts and science odyssey, those are district-wide things that have been going on for years now. So, thousands of kids have benefited from that. And then especially I'd like to thank Bill Dunlop, who, when I came on this board 9 years ago, it was his chair, and he was one of the founding people of LVEF. It was his brainchild, and he's still, contributing. And I want to thank him and Sally for all the generosity they have for seeding that and getting all those things put together. And now it's the Harlem Wizards, and so I always encourage people to get to the Harlem Wizards game. That's their primary fundraiser every year. It's a sellout event, and all that money goes to benefit kids in this district. So it's a really, really philanthropic thing, and we're very, very fortunate to have them. So thank you, folks. Okay, we're going to move in. Normally we do our board member reports, but we're going to swear these folks in. And so I would like to ask our two newest board members to come up, and Assistant Superintendent Kelly Mankey is going to swear them in. I'm going to run up there, and it's Catherine Johnson from Livermore and Amanda Dunmeyer from Granada.
All right, please repeat after me. I, and state your name, do solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California, that I take this obligation freely without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion, and that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties upon which I am about to enter. Congratulations.
Welcome. Welcome. As soon as you both are situated, did you guys decide? Oh, Catherine Johnson from Livermore High is going to lead off tonight.
Okay. Good evening, Board President Bueno, members of the board, Superintendent Van Schack, Cabinet, and community. My name is Catherine Johnson, and I'm representing Livermore High School. Since the school year began, the school has been full of energy and excitement. Coming back to school means getting to see friends, new teachers and classes, and seeing incoming freshmen taking in everything that comes with high school. Clubs are already working on getting applications in, so club meetings are going to begin soon. To celebrate coming back to school, we had a back-to-school rally where we got to see amazing performances by our dance team, cheer team, and drumline. We also had our loudest group of freshmen at a rally that I've seen so far in high school. It was really cool watching them come together to be heard during their class chants. At our first football game of the school year, everyone's throats hurt from cheering so loud for our team. Our band and cheer team did a great job keeping the energy up at the game, and we had a great halftime performance by cheer and dance. For some of our other sports, our girls volleyball team has been working hard at practice and have been learning from what has and hasn't worked in their games. They are all supporting each other to get better and are working to earn more victories. Cross country is doing great and has their first meet next Saturday in San Francisco. Tennis has many practices, which is paying off because they just won their most recent match against Freedom High School. Boys and girls water polo have been having some great games with landslide victories in some matches and a good fight for the last point in others. Auditions for the fall play are underway, and we look forward to getting to see our production of Romeo and Juliet down the road. Seniors are starting to look at our upcoming events, and first up on the list is our senior picnic. The whole school is getting prepared for our belly flop fiesta, which is a tradition we are excited to have taking place in our brand new pool. This Friday night's game, we will be honoring first responders, so we are all going to wear red, white, and blue to the game. A Spirit Week will also be accompanying the memorial game, and I look forward to getting to dress up for it. For many people in the leadership class, the top of our minds is taken with planning for homecoming. The juniors are hard at work planning the dance, and all the class officers are working on planning their practices for homecoming skit. One of our groups in leadership is decorating a bulletin board for Hispanic Heritage Month. The August and September focus for PBIS is on making connections. Next month's theme will be anti-bullying. We honored Giselle Seja, Paige McLean, and Alex Feathers for displaying Cowboy Heroes qualities on campus. Thanks for listening, and today's a great day to be a cowboy.
Thank you. Nicely done. All right, Amanda Dunmeyer from Granada High School.
Good evening. Good evening, Board. A little more, sorry.
Yeah, they're sensitive. It's not
Good
you.
evening, Board President Bueno.
Green light on?
It's the, yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. Good evening, Board President Bueno, members of the board, Superintendent Van Schack, Cabinet, and community. My name is Amanda Dunmeyer, and I represent Granada High School. It has been wonderful to get back into school to see all my friends, teachers, and the incoming freshmen. Granada is off to a strong start for the 2023 to 2024 school year. The campus is buzzing with activity, and our teachers are ecstatic to start working with students. Granada's first football game was held on Friday, August 25th, and we had quite the turnout. You could feel the excitement from students and parents as the Granada colors are represented by all who attended. School spirit was in full effect. I was a proud matador as the band rocked the stands. Halftime performances by Granada's cheer squad and dance team blew us away. Granada's tennis team had a victorious match on Tuesday, August 29th against Emerald High School. Our water polo team started its season against Amador Valley on Thursday, August 31st, which was a lot of fun as many came to cheer our team on. Friday, September 1st, Granada held its very first back-to-school rally. Freshmen were welcomed and students were introduced to the ASB and the new class officers. Granada's dance and cheer team, along with the hip-hop club, treated students to a fantastic performance. To boost our school spirit and to show love and support for our school, students participated in a school-wide Spirit Week, which included Red, White, and Blue Day, Camo Day, Pink Out Day, Neon Day, and of course, Black and Gold. Wednesday, September 6th, students are invited to attend Club Rush. Granada's clubs will be setting up tables in the quad to promote their clubs. Throughout the week, Granada's student leadership met with freshmen through senior classes to support their class homecoming skit, Theme Ideal, also known as Into the Blank. The seniors class theme will be Into the Stars, juniors Into the Toy Box, sophomores Into the Super Bowl, and freshmen Into the City. That's it for now. Stay classy, Matadors.
Thank you very much. Nicely done. And welcome to both of you. We'll get the microphone fixed for you. All right. We're going to move into employee association reports. And so this is the opportunity for our organized employees, all of them, to come in and tell us what's going on within their respective bargaining units. I believe this evening we have the Livermore Education Association President, Amy Thompson, and she's on her way up. Our Vice President, Eileen Greenlee. And then we have CSEA, Stephanie Wagner, SEIU's Kirsty Governor, and then Lily Lopez does the confidentials. You're good?
It's on. I get so nervous when I'm coming up here to speak. You guys did an awesome job, and you even had technical difficulty. Welcome. Great job. Good evening, Board President Bueno, Superintendent Van Schack, members of the board and cabinet. I'm Amy Thompson, President of the Livermore Education Association, representing teachers, nurses, psychologists, speech pathologists, and teachers on special assignment. Last June, I provided a breakdown of LEA members. Tonight, I have a brief update. There are currently 713 full-time equivalent LEA bargaining unit members, an increase of less than 1 FTE from last year. Our unit has seen a decrease of 10 classroom teachers and 3 special day class teachers. This decrease is balanced with an increase of 5 counselors and 6 teachers on special assignment. Last year at this time, we had over 30 unfilled positions in our bargaining unit. We currently have 10.9 unfilled positions. We are in much better shape than last year, even with the continuation of the teacher shortage. The most challenging positions to fill are in special education, math, and science. During new hire orientation, we learned that over half of our new hires had transferred to Livermore from neighboring districts. I believe these data points show that last year's negotiations have had a positive impact on our district and will improve learning conditions for students. LEA members appreciate the messaging to staff and families from Superintendent Van Schack about the intention to set a positive tone on campus for the year, starting with the use of appropriate language and the elimination of hate speech. We look forward to action steps and consistent support. Teachers are looking forward to back to school night, where they will share classroom norms, expectation, and curriculum with parents as our partners to ensure student success. The LEA LVJUSD Joint Advisory Committee met in July to discuss the implications of the state budget on our district. With the release of the unaudited actuals at tonight's board meeting, we look forward to another productive conversation. I am especially curious to learn more about restricted versus unrestricted funding. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We're going to move into Section 8, this communication from the public. And communication from the public is the time for you, or public, to comment either in writing or verbally on any item that is not on the agenda. Now, we, the board, may listen to the comments, and we may even ask staff clarifying questions following, but we can either discuss nor take action on items that are not on the agenda, and this is in accordance with the Brown Act, which is state law. If you'd like to address a topic that is not on this evening's agenda, now is the time to do so. We do have one card that was submitted prior to introduction of this item. So we have 3 minutes, and I will call up Sky McLeod. And you're going to have to hit the little button on the base, and you're good. You're good.
All right. Good evening, board trustees and superintendent. I'd like to tell you about a STEAM program for Livermore students called DestinationImagination.org. It's a 501c3. It's well established and available to every student in the entire Tri-Valley except for here in Livermore. Students form extracurricular teams that are run by the parents. Kids face both short challenges of building creativity and performances and a long-term challenge that they present to the regional tournament. They research, budget, write a script, make costumes and sets, and build technical elements using engineering, math, programming, and physics. The key is that parents are only there to teach skills and ensure safety, but the kids do everything. In DI, kids invent, design, and learn from failure. This naturally teaches the core building blocks of mental health: resiliency, grit, self-reliance, communication skills, and pride in themselves. DI is an international program for TK through 12th grades. It's in the same vein of Odyssey of the Mind, if you're familiar with that. It offers scholarships, service hours, and amazing life experience to kids of all abilities and family backgrounds. The learning is fun, hands-on, and includes kids who struggle in the classroom. These are skills for life. In fact, NASA has said that they fast-track resumes that include DI because those employees have what they're looking for. We've also had enthusiastic feedback from teachers and employees at our labs. This costs schools nothing. The season is now through February at $90 per kid, total. Nothing else of this caliber is so affordable for all families at about $15 a month. I'm trying to meet with the superintendent's office to implement this in our district and would love the board's support. To start, we need a meeting space for 1 to 2 evenings this month to offer free district-wide info nights. You're all invited, all of you, to visit the regional tournament this February with me. It's usually in Pleasanton or Dublin. I'm thrilled to answer any questions. Please see the handout. And don't let Livermore students be left out. Thank you.
Thank you. We're going to move into 8.2B, and this is correspondence. Formal written correspondence to this Board of Education shall be acknowledged if received by the board or in the superintendent's office by 4 p.m. the day before our meeting. Formal written correspondence received after the cutoff time will generally be acknowledged at the following meeting. And the note on this is that correspondence received via the board's electronic communication, and it's under the Livermore Valley Joint Unified School District website by accessing formal written correspondence to the Board of Education with all fields completed and verified. We treat that as formal written correspondence. So I'd ask our clerk, Trustee Pruso, if there's any correspondence, and if she'd summarize for us, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. There we have one. This from Ryan Heath, who expressed support for renaming the Livermore High School Theater to the Carol Hovey Performing Arts Theater.
Thank you. All right, we're going to move into number 9. I have no cards, and we will, Mr. Superintendent, if you could introduce 9-1, please.
I will. Thank you, Ms. Pruso, for that excellent intro. Tonight, we're bringing back the item that we discussed at the last meeting. As per board policy, it comes to 2 consecutive meetings. It is the naming of the Livermore High School Theater. Just a little bit of background to remind you, the committee did have 6 members. That included a teacher, community member, students, and other staff. They met on June 2nd. And from that, they unanimously agreed to 3 suggestions. Carol Hovey Performing Arts Theater, the Carol Hovey Livermore Performing Arts Theater, and the Carol Hovey Livermore Theater for the Performing Arts. And number 1 was their recommendation. Come back to that in a second. Those names were submitted, and per our administrative regulation, 2 consecutive board meetings, and then we bring it back to the board at that point for a vote and a renaming. And so the recommendation is that we consider the names that I'll go back to real quickly and select one of those names as the new name for the Livermore High Theater.
Thank you. We have no cards that were submitted, so we'll close the public comment. Any discussion or comments? Trustee Pruso.
I know we already discussed this, but I think that was what was most impressive about this was that the students brought this to us, and also just being a part of the Livermore High School community and knowing Mrs. Hovey, I think this is just a really great thing, and I would suggest that we go with the first one, which is the Carol Hovey Performing Arts Theater. If anyone has any comments about that.
Okay. Anyone else have any comments in general prior to any motion? Anyone? Mr. Wong? I would just add that I too appreciate the students coming forward. And this isn't something that the board takes lightly. I mean, the long and illustrious career of Ms. Hovey, the emotional response, the support from her students, the life-changing effect that she had on people, all those things epitomize what a great teacher is. And so I'm honored to be on the board as we're naming a theater, whatever this name ends up being here. They're all very, very close. So I would entertain a motion if there's no further discussion.
President Bino, I move that we name the Livermore, I don't know if I'm doing this right. We name the Livermore High School Theater the Carol Hovey Performing Arts Theater.
Second?
We have a motion by Trustee Pruso that's been seconded by Trustee Druin, and that is to officially name, if you could bring it back up.
Sure.
To officially name the theater at Livermore High School the Carol Hovey Performing Arts Theater. Any discussion on the motion? Madam Clerk, if you'd call the roll, please.
Trustee Guzman?
Aye.
Trustee Druin?
Aye.
Myself, aye. Trustee Wong?
Aye.
President Bino?
Aye. And that motion carries unanimously. All right.
All right,
9-2, please.
All right, for the second item this evening, I will invite our Assistant Superintendent of Business Services, Ms. Triska Fiskus, to bring forth the unaudited actual financial reports from 22-23 for approval of the board.
Good evening, President Bueno, members of the board, Superintendent Van Schack, and Cabinet. Tonight, I'm here to present information on the 2022-2023 unaudited actuals. The unaudited actuals include all of our financial transactions from July 1st, 2022 through the end of the school year, June 30th, 2023. These reports no longer reflect budget, but instead they reflect the actual results of our revenue and expenditures for the year. Board approval is required, although we do not certify the unaudited actuals as positive, qualified, or negative like we do the budget reports. The reason why they are termed unaudited is that they have not undergone the review by our district's external auditors. Our final audit will take place in October, and the audited balances will be reported to the board at the December board meeting. Our closing process takes place during the months of June, July, and August. So in June, before our school sites and departments head out for the summer, we work with all of them to document receiving on all of our purchase orders. We work with the payroll team to make sure that any time worked on June time cards is paid in the accrual payroll. And we work with our departments to ensure that we have the most up-to-date grant letters and awards to reconcile revenue accurately. In July, the accounts payable desks continue to call vendors for invoices that have not yet been received, and they continue to pay the bills. The accounts receivable desk continue to receive checks and apportionments, and they record our revenue accruals. Our payroll department runs the payroll accrual. Our ASB desk closes out all of our student body POs and prepares the ASB statements for our audit. And we continue to review the budget to actuals to make expense and revenue transfers to accurately reflect transactions. And in August is when I take over the closing process. So in August, I look at all remaining purchase orders and make determinations whether they should be closed, meaning we did not order the item or the service, accrued, meaning the item or service was received prior to June 30th, or rolled over, meaning we ordered the item, it has not yet been received by June 30th, and we need to roll over the purchase order so that we can pay the balance in the subsequent fiscal year. We also review all of our funds and resources to verify that all revenue has been recorded, that all PO encumbrances have been removed, that we have charged indirect costs and posted interfund transfers, if applicable, and that every fund and resource is balanced. In August, we also upload our financials from our district escape financial software into the state's SAC software, and we complete all required additional forms, including the Special Education Maintenance of Effort, Form CEA, which is our current expense formula, Form CAT, which reports all of our categorical program balances. And I would like to point out that we are a district that does have 72 separate grants. I would say that's a significant number compared to most districts across the state, which means we work very hard to bring in additional program revenue to offer our students. These are some statistics for the business office for the last school year. So our payroll department issued over $119 million in gross pay, and they issued 25,954 employee warrants. Our accounts payable department issued $84 million in vendor payments. They issued 14,710 checks to vendors and 5,197 checks to employees for reimbursements. And our purchasing department issued 7,776 purchase orders and store requisitions for the year. So our revenues are shown here in pie format, and if you focus on the very large blue section, you'll see that is our LCFF, or Local Control Funding Formula revenue. That is money that comes in from our state. The green section of the pie chart is the other area I'd like to focus you on. That is other state revenue. The reason why those two sections are so important and significant to our school district is that is 88.6% of our total revenue, and that all comes from the state. That is why we are so heavily dependent on the state budget and why we constantly follow it. Our expenditures are shown here, and if you focus on the blue, orange, green, and brighter orange section of the chart, you will see that makes up the majority. 85.4% of our expenditures are spent on people. Our financial highlights for the year are shown here. This is our unrestricted and restricted general fund combined. So we had a beginning fund balance of $18,732,077, with revenues and transfers in of $204,545,834, expenditures and transfers out of $194,975,502, resulting in a net change to our fund balance of $9,570,332, and an ending fund balance of $28,302,409. The components of that ending fund balance are shown here. So we have $50,000 set aside for our revolving cash fund, $287,078 in stores inventory, $21,985,552 in restricted programs, $5,849,266 is our 3% required reserve for economic uncertainties, which leaves a remaining $130,513, which is unassigned at this time. Our district, in addition to our main operating fund, has several other funds that we use for special purposes, and they're all shown here. So our Fund 8 is where we report the activity of our ASBs, or student body funds. Fund 11 is where we report the activity of our adult education program, which is located at Vineyard. Fund 12 is where we report the activity of our state preschool program, which is ran by CAPE. Fund 13 is where we report the operations of our child nutrition program. Fund 14 is our deferred maintenance fund. You can see that the balance in that fund is very small now that the state has stopped funding that. And Fund 17 is our special reserve fund. Also very minimal activity happening there, with a balance of only $1,638. Fund 19 is our foundation special revenue fund. This is where we actually manage our scholarships, so this is the Croce and the Hindu Scholarship Fund. Fund 20 is our fund for post-employment benefits. Fund 21 is our building fund, which is where we report the activity of our bond. Fund 25 is capital facilities, which is where we record all revenues from developer fees and all of our expenditures related to growth, which often includes portables, furniture purchases. Fund 35 is our county school facilities fund. This is where we were required to record the revenue of the state match for our facilities. And then Fund 40 is where we actually spend those funds on capital outlay. Fund 51 is the bond interest and redemption fund. That fund is managed by the county office and is where they record the revenues generated by taxpayers to pay off the bonds that we're recording the expenditures of in Fund 21. And then finally, Fund 67 is our self-insurance fund. As a reminder, our district is self-insured up to $50,000 per incident. Next steps are that we will update the adopted budget, including the unaudited beginning balances. We will post budget for the carryover revenue and expense budgets. We will update all of our site allocations based on day 14 enrollment. And we will reconcile the position control system to the budget with actual hire information. In October, we will work with our auditors to provide all required financial documentation, and the audit will be completed by December 15th. With that, the superintendent's recommendation is to approve the district's 2022-2023 unaudited actual financial report as presented, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have on the report.
Thank you very much. We have no cards, so there's no public comment on this. Any discussion or questions? Trustee Guzman?
Thank you. Question about the cafeteria fund or Fund 13. Is that because we're now providing meals for breakfast and lunch for all students, do we anticipate that number ever shrinking, or is that going to be, is that sustainable number? Like, we're going to continually get that?
That fund balance is certainly not sustainable. The cafeteria fund should not generate an ongoing revenue balance. It should basically break even each year. The reason why the fund balance is so significantly large right now is that fund is sitting on several grants from the state for equipment and for other purchases that were related to one-time grants. And so that's where a lot of that fund balance is coming from.
Okay. Okay, so that explains that. I think part of, and the second part of that question, and this is probably, is do we at any point see that we're going to have to start collecting, because, you know, free and reduced lunch used to be a thing, and that's no longer, because it's for everyone now. I guess I'm just asking, how is that funding? Maybe I'm not asking it correctly.
And so the state moving to everyone receiving free meals versus only those eligible through the free and reduced price application process is having a positive effect on Fund 13 and the child nutrition program, in that all meals are funded. It is having a more negative effect on the overall district budget, in that there are other programs that are supported by those counts. And as parents in the community learn that they don't have to complete that application to receive the free and reduced price meal, what we see is that the submittal of those applications has declined. And as our overall counts are lowered, we receive less funding as a district through our local control funding formula, which can provide additional services in addition to the free meals within our child nutrition program.
Okay, I think that's what this more than just meals form application is, the new form that we want.
Correct. That is our district's informational message, trying to educate the community on the other types of services that we could provide with these numbers if people continue to fill out the applications.
Okay, thank you for the clarification.
Relative to that same topic, wasn't there, there was discussion a while back, because that was how we measured, maybe it was a SED, was in terms of some other funding, and it was relative to the applications of folks. But when we went to Universal Meals, or whatever the name was, lunches for all, or when we did that, it kind of hampered our ability to kind of measure that, the SED.
It did, and as I stated before, that count funds quite a few programs outside of just child nutrition. Our local control funding formula, our supplemental piece of that is funded on duplicated students, and one piece of unduplicated students is the socially economically disadvantaged students, or the free and reduced price students that we're referring to. And there are other grants across the state, more local grants that we can apply for, that are also driven by those numbers. And when our numbers dwindle because of dwindling applications, we sometimes fall out of eligibility altogether for some of those local grants.
I guess the question comes down to, there should be data that would support the absence of the applications. I mean, it was a state and federal move that allowed for universal meals, and so that the causation caused the issue, which is now going to hamper our ability to fund children. So the data should support the fact that that number didn't change, or if anything, it may have gone up, and even in the absence of application. I just hate to see us have to push people through a lot of process if at a state level or a federal level, sounds like state level, that there was at least a lobbying effort or a work with effort, you know, through Superintendent Thurman's office, to say the numbers haven't changed in any of the districts. Probably, if anything, the need might have gone up. And so it just seems like we're running a lot of folks. I mean, we're doing what we have to do just because of the rules, but have we looked at, because I know there was discussion, we saw this coming a year and a half ago when they were talking about ending that. But has there been anything at the state level to try to eliminate this?
The only movement we've really seen or the real support we get at the state level is that children that are directly certified through state processes are automatically counted in our count. And so that's the one piece of support that I would say the state helps in this process. Other than that, we've seen that they've really left it up to school districts, and it's more of a collaboration across counties and across school districts across the state on what is the best way to get this message out to communities. And we're all kind of sharing templates or infographics or other type of items of ways of messaging the community.
Okay. Trustee John.
Well, I had a question, but my mind was just kind of blown. As a researcher, free and reduced lunch is kind of the metric that we, to get at students in need. And so it's going to be challenging for researchers and challenging for us to understand where we are as far as need. So, I don't know. That's interesting. And we talk about systems. I talk about systems thinking with my students, and you're trying to do good here, and then it has an unintended consequence in other areas. So I think it's just something that we're going to have to pay attention to, because I think free and reduced lunch is a great idea, but free and reduced, those applications are a way of trying to understand the need of your district. And so if that is no longer accurate, then we have to be creative about how we can be accurate. I was just interested, so after December 15th, what happens? Do you submit this to the state, or is the process finished? I'm just kind of curious about the end story.
So we will submit our file to the county, and the county will submit it to the state after board approval this evening. The results of the audit will be reported in the audit report that is presented to the board. And so the audit report is due by December 15th, usually presented at either the December or January board meeting. And then once it's been presented to the board, the auditors submit the audit report to the state, to the Federal Audit Clearinghouse, and one other organization that oversees audits. And so the auditors actually take on the responsibility of the submittal of the audit report.
I just want to add that, free and reduced lunch was an imperfect measure at best, and so it's maybe an opportunity to push us to be a little more creative in figuring out a better measurement. I won't really hold my breath, but I would love to see the state do that, take this as an opportunity.
Thank you for that. One thing on this, it's just because I know that we were looking at the potential to have a budget that came in very, very short. And it looks like we ended up with a budget that increased our fund balance by over 30%.
And so we did have a significant increase to our fund balance from our restricted programs.
And that the majority of that comes from the state.
The majority of that comes from the state, and the majority of it is related to the art and music block grant as well as the learning recovery block grant.
And that's why I think it's worth, at least a public acknowledgement that the legislature, state of California, has shown year over year now that they're in support of public education. They gave us historic funding, and that they backed up that historic funding 2 times in a row. So they are being responsive to the demands of agencies like this, and it's helping, as we heard earlier, with the recruitment and retention of professionals that we entrust the kids to, bettering public education, and it just goes that our governor and the entire legislature is behind that. And I just want to publicly thank them, because it's easy to throw, stones and criticism when someone doesn't do exactly what we want as a public. But this is proof, a couple years in a row now, especially coming out of a pandemic and all the horribleness that was behind us, that the state of California is firmly behind public education, and they're backing it up with their dollars. So it puts us in a very, very good position as a public agency. So I want to thank them for that. Okay, this is an action item. If there's no more comments, I didn't entertain a motion on this.
President Bueno, I move to approve the district's 2022-2023 unaudited actual financial report as presented.
I'll second.
Thank you. So we have a motion, slide amendment, you're in support of the superintendent's recommendation. Okay? Okay, so we have a motion by trustee Druin in support of the superintendent's recommendation on this item, and that has been seconded by trustee Pruso. Any questions on the motion? Madam Clerk, if you'd call the roll, please.
Trustee Wong.
Aye.
Trustee Druin.
Aye.
Myself, aye. Trustee Guzman.
Aye.
President Bueno.
Aye. The motion carries unanimously. Ms. Viscus, thank you very much. Really good job on it. This is an extraordinarily complicated budget with a revenue stream that's, crazy at best. So thank you very much. Okay. I think we're moving into 10, which is our consents. I think that there are 13 this evening, 13 on the consent item. And see, we have 10.2 through 10.14. If someone, I'd entertain a motion to move in their entirety.
Mr. President, I move that we approve consent items 10.2 through 10.14 in its entirety.
Thank you.
I will second.
We have a motion by trustee Wong. It's been seconded by trustee Pruso. I'd move in their entirety. Any questions on the motion? Madam Clerk, if you'd call the roll, please.
Trustee Druin.
Aye.
Trustee Guzman.
Aye.
Myself, aye. Trustee Wong.
Aye.
President Bueno.
Aye. That motion carries unanimously. Thank you very much. And I think we have 4 consent resos, 4, 5, 6, and 7 for the current fiscal year. If someone would like to move them or remove one, or move them in their entirety.
Mr. President, I move that we approve resolutions number 004-2324 through 007-2324 in their entirety.
Thank you very much.
I'll second.
So we have a motion by trustee Wong to move all the consent resos in their entirety, and it's been seconded by trustee Pruso. Any discussion on the motion? Madam Clerk, if you'd call the roll, please.
Myself, aye. Trustee Guzman.
Aye.
Trustee Druin.
Aye.
Trustee Wong.
Aye.
President Bueno.
Aye. Motion carries unanimously. And we'll move into board member reports. Under 13, we had nothing removed separately. So we'll start with trustee Guzman.
Okay. Yes, from my perspective, the 2023 school year went off with a strong start. I, along with other trustees, attended the staff kickoff meeting at Livermore High School. I had the joy of sitting among and getting to know many of the district office administrative staff. Thank you to Mammy for the conversation and introducing me to your colleagues. Later, I attended a training session by PFLAG on how we may better serve our LGBTQ+ students. Hosted by the Chabot Las Positas Community College District, I attended Dr. Gina Garcia's talk on Hispanic serving institutions, and although it was centered on students in higher ed, there were nonetheless key points that can be applied to the TK-12 sector. And on the first day of school, I witnessed all the students attend Granada High School as either new freshmen, sophomores, juniors, or seniors. Again, I want to reiterate that this school year and all the following school years, we center students' learning and their positive experiences for each student.
Thank you very much. Trustee Druin.
Back to school is a bittersweet time for my family, as we're all educators when summer ends and we go back to school. But this year, I think my children are very excited to get back to school. I attended several back-to-school celebrations. I want to iterate that I appreciate the district-wide commitment to stop hate speech and to embrace positive communication on campus. I think that's trying to change culture is a challenging thing, and I think that but I'm glad that we're all on board to try to make this happen. I too attended the PFLAG professional learning experience and was impressed by their professionalism. I've also attended several back-to-school events and eaten lots of ice cream, and I'm looking forward to the Youth Climate Summit Saturday, September 9th. It's run by and for students, but I'll be in attendance, as I'm sure some of you will as well. And I'm looking forward to the back-to-school nights that I can't attend, but it usually conflicts with my school schedule. But so that's some of the stuff I've been doing, so thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Wong.
I want to start by thanking our HR department, which has worked very hard. They've been in overdrive, filling many, many positions and getting the year off to a great start because of Amy Robbins and her team and all their hard work. So really appreciate them. I, along with my fellow board members, attended several teacher orientation events, and they're always very exciting. I appreciate the district staff for the hard work in putting all those together, and also the district kickoff, which is always really fun to watch our superintendent put on a show. And this year, I really appreciated that we recognized some of our veteran teachers for the years of service. It was very touching. We had our first policy committee meeting of the year, so thank you, Tracy Christmas. And I want to thank City of Livermore and the parent advocates from Lawrence Elementary who advocated, worked really hard to get some much needed improvements to the crossing there in front of Lawrence Elementary, which has been very scary for many years. And they now have some really great road improvements. They're not completely finished, but we're very close. And it's really great, so I appreciate that. And if any parents or teachers or just neighbors near our school sites are thinking, what about my school? This is actually the time to advocate for that because the city is embarking on a local roadway safety plan, and it's not going to be a very long time. So this is a time to give your input. If you have thoughts about problem areas, you don't have to have the answers. There are traffic engineers who will come up with the answers. They want to know what are the problem areas, what kinds of problems are you having, and then we'll work on that. So if you just go to livermoresafetyplan.org or livermorevisionzero.org, for some reason there are two different research programs going on where they're going to put this plan together. So those are two places you can go to look at what they're studying and give your input. And I believe we're going to send out a flyer about that. So I really encourage families to get involved because I sometimes hear from families and students, high school students who have issues, and it's hard to get something going when nothing's happening. But right now, the city is trying to put together a comprehensive plan citywide. So this is the time to give your input. And then just, let's see, lastly, I attended Quest Science Center has a whole bunch of really great events coming up this fall, and I attended the first one on weather phenomena, and there'll be more coming up, including Saturday's Youth Climate Summit. They've worked really hard on that. This is put together by students, so really, really encourage everybody to go to it.
Thank you very much. Trustee Prusso.
I also attended many of the same things as my colleagues here, including the new teacher orientation, which was really exciting, I think, to see our new teachers coming in. Some of them are brand new, and some of them are just new to us. And some of them are new to us but live in Livermore, so they are home now. They've found their way home, which is really exciting. And I believe there were several who grew up here in Livermore and went through schools here, and so it's great to have them back at the schools that they grew up in. Also wanted to thank our superintendent for the theme of stopping our hate speech and our anti-bullying initiatives this year. I think it's a really important thing. It's obviously something that has come up not just in Livermore, but at a national level, and so I appreciate the fact that we're focusing on that with our students. Hopefully they can teach all of us the best way to stop hate speech and to be compassionate towards one another. And also our new elementary school homework policy. If I were an elementary school parent right now, I'd be pretty excited about it. But it looks like we're going to be just doing just some reading and some just simple math, which I think is great. No more fighting our students on big projects and other homework, the homeworks that the parents ended up doing anyway. So I think that's a great new change as well. And I did miss the kickoff because I'm hopefully don't get emotional here. I had some of my kids had to drop off at college, so I missed the kickoff because we were moving into dorm rooms, and so it's been a very exciting / emotional time in our house. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. And also just wanted to say thank you to the teachers, to the parents, to the staff, and the students, I think, to having a successful first few weeks of school. I know in our household it's been really exciting, and I think it's just always great to get back into it. So just appreciate all of those people and excited for this next year. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I was able to make that kickoff, and it's a big event. For those who may not know, it's virtually everyone who works in this district is in one place at one time. Did it at the big super stadium, superstructure over at Livermore High School in their athletic, and it was awesome. You get 1,000 people, you can feel the energy. Mr. Van Schack comes up, addresses everyone, kind of gives everyone a kickoff, and there's just a few things that really make it impressive. And Trustee Prusso mentioned it, and it's when they say, how many of you went to Livermore schools? How many of you live in Livermore? And there's a huge number. I mean, it's a very significant percentage, and that's something to be proud of, that we're able to have homegrown talent and depth on the bench, and it feels real good. People are invested in this community, and people are invested in education. Did miss a couple of things. I didn't have a kid going off to college, but I did have one. Our youngest son finally got married, so yeah, just kind of a little one. So that was kind of nice. And we've got a great school year started off. I was able to go by a couple on, I guess I don't want to say it's opening day, but first day of school, rode my bike over there, and I think it went to Sunset. And it's amazing how many people walk to school. I mean, there was hundreds. I think their enrollment at that school is over 800 kids, and I think everyone got walked to school that day. There was about 20 cars that pulled up, and that was it. So congrats to the folks that are walking to school. And so those traffic mitigation things are really important, working with the city. I know the city sits on a lot of money for traffic mitigation issues, so it's nice to see them expending some of that for the betterment of our kids. Mr. Van Schack.
Thank you, sir. So in addition to the kickoff, we also brought together groups and staff to review data and make adjustments to our yearly site and district plans. The eagerness of all involved to find creative solutions to some very complex problems really gave us great reason to be optimistic. Obviously, the biggest news was the first day of school, which has been mentioned, August 21st. Nearly 13,100 students this year, over 1,500 employees with us as we began the 23-24 school year. This is the time of year I always get asked, what happened to the good old days when we started school after Labor Day? And why is it we start so early now? And just to clarify, the good old days, we had 10 fewer days of school each year. California extended the school year to 180 days from 170 or 175 in the late 80s. And we also extended some of our breaks, primarily Thanksgiving break, which used to be 2 days, and now it's 5. So that pushes the beginning of school year back. Won't call it the good old days, but that's the reason we start before Labor Day instead of after. We are now 10 days into the school year, and people are getting settled. Fall sports are underway, as evidenced by our high school students who discussed games and Friday nights and all that comes with that. We have some incredibly talented students throughout our district, and this year projects to be really one of the best ever for sports, for music, for spirit teams, for our visual and performing arts. It'll be very difficult to match the successes from last year, but things are really looking good to start with. We are also working with city staff to determine ways in which we can provide housing and daycare assistance to staff in an effort to keep our best and brightest here in Livermore. The expense of the Bay Area has only grown, and we're looking for some solutions there, again, to keep homegrown folks in our home. Sort of as a public announcement here, we are looking for community members to serve on our Citizens Bond Oversight Committee. This CBOC is responsible for monitoring bond finances to ensure that public money is being spent in accordance with voter-approved bond language. The CBOC is a great way to get involved. There's meetings every other month. If you are interested, you're a member of the community and would like to get involved in district activities, there's a link on the district website under the bond category. It just says link to CBOC. You can fill out an application there, and we'd love to have you part of our process. And with that, I wish you all a good evening.
Thank you very much. With no further business, we will adjourn at 2012.